This is Duke University.
Hello and welcome to EGNP's first and third series. I'm Angela Bonner, Associate Director of Career Readiness here in the Duke Career Center. Just so you know, this series was created with students in mind. We wanted to be able to provide opportunity for you all to dive into what's possible in the world of education, government, nonprofit, and policy jobs. So with that said, we like to bring in professionals and just hear about what they've done, their educational background, and hopefully they will share some nuggets along the way. I am extremely excited to have Attorney Nina Gunnell Pfeil here with us. Nina, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So thanks for taking the time out of your busy day just to share a little bit with us. And like, this is going to be brief, so you ready? We're just going to jump into this.
I'm ready.
All right. So if you could just tell us a little bit about your educational background and how you got there.
All right. Well, I started off in undergrad at UNC Wilmington with a major in criminal justice and a minor in sociology. From there, I went on to get my master's in education for curriculum development. And I taught for several years before going back to law school later in life and got my law degree. And here I am.
Awesome. So I have a question for you then. I know some folks think just inside the box. Can you tell me how you felt like your degrees, all of them, have helped you to this point in what you're doing?
Absolutely. So criminal justice and sociology, I always thought I would go to law school. And it actually ended up leading me to getting my master's in education and curriculum development, which was amazing. Going on to teach students. I taught university students, and it was amazing and a really wonderful experience. And now, practicing law, I am a real estate attorney. So every day I feel like I am teaching buyers about contracts and about their home and what they're signing. So I still get to teach, which is something I love to do while practicing law, which has always been a goal of mine.
Awesome. So just kind of feeding into that, you're telling us that you work as a real estate attorney. Can you give us a little bit more about what you do and what your typical day looks like?
All right. So on a daily basis, I practice law doing real estate closings. Some of that is commercial. Most of it is residential. And every day we get buyers that come in. We basically here at Moore and Alphen represent builders. So we do a lot of title searching, which is a lot of reading, which is great because I love to read. And within that, they come in, we go over their contract, we go over their deeds and deeds of trust, making sure all the paperwork and the loan documents are in line. So on a regular basis, I could have anywhere from 5 to 6 closings in a day, which doesn't seem like a lot, but in educating people about what it is they're signing, a lot of them being first time, some of them second, third, fourth time home buyers. It's a good time, but takes a lot of talking.
I bet so. So if you could then, thinking about what it is that you're doing every day, what do you like the best about your job and what are some things you wish you could change about it?
I'd say my favorite part of my job is educating people. And I love what I do because I get to talk to people. I love talking to people. I love teaching, and I feel like I get to do that on a regular basis. This is mostly the happy part of the law. Most people that come in are very happy to be buying a new home, which I think is wonderful. I think what I like least about my job is when closings go sideways, which does happen. When people don't necessarily get to close on their home, that's obviously an unhappy event, but also sometimes there are cultural or language barriers, which seem to be a challenge, which sometimes I just wish that I could be multilingual and be able to help educate people that way.
Awesome. Awesome. So as you know, we meet with students quite often and they're trying to figure out their journey and they're trying to find that perfect job right after college. If you could tell us what your first full-time job was out of school and how is it helping you thus far on your journey?
Actually, my first full-time job out of school was working for Syntex Homes. So everything comes full circle, which is pretty phenomenal. I didn't know that I would end up in real estate. I always thought that I would end up in immigration. And I practiced immigration for a while, figured out that wasn't for me, but it just comes full circle because Syntex is one of the builders that we represent. And so that's really exciting. It definitely set me up just to kind of know what happens in the construction industry and better educate my buyers on the process of home buying and building.
Awesome. So in the spirit of first and third series, the EGNP first and third series, I got a couple questions for you. So the first one is, when is the first time that you made a mistake or you had a very big challenge that you had to overcome at work, and how did you get through that?
That's a big one. So my very first issue that I ever had, mistake that I had at work, was getting documents out on time for an immigration file. And if anybody listening knows anything about immigration and their paperwork, there are deadlines. And I thought that I had sent out the paperwork. And what actually happened, it was in the back seat of my car in a FedEx package. So it didn't actually go out the night that it needed to be there. And the terrible thing about that was this application had to be in so that not buyers, excuse me, so that our clients didn't have to refill out everything. And I completely freaked out. Obviously, this was, as a very new attorney, I didn't want them to miss their filing deadline on my behalf because it was something that I made a mistake, but mistakes do happen. The most important thing in that time was to own up to it. So I did. I found an all-night FedEx place and sent it out that night. I left my house at 9 o'clock, made sure it got out. Now still after that time, no FedEx trucks are picking it up. So I did have to own up to it. And I reached out to the clients to let them know, like, hey, this is what happened. Hopefully it gets there in time and we don't have to worry about that filing deadline. Otherwise they had to redo the application, and that would have been terrible. It would have been terrible. Would have been more paperwork for them, probably another filing fee that the firm would have had to eat, which would not have been good for me. But it actually worked out. They didn't have to do the paperwork. It got there on time and it was okay. But the hardest thing was telling the managing partner that happened, because it terrified me, absolutely terrified me. But owning up to your mistakes and just being aware and knowing that when it does happen, you have to own up to it. Don't try and hide it or sweep it under the rug, because that could be detrimental to your career.
Okay, we got to pause because it froze and I don't know.
I saw that
on my side. So I'm gonna ask you the question again and just
okay.
Again, okay. All right. So in the spirit of our series being first and third in the title, can you tell us about the first mistake you made at your job or a challenge that you encountered that was pretty rough, and how did you work through it?
So the first mistake I made at my job was very early in my career. I was practicing immigration and there were filing deadlines on applications, and we had a client where this application had to get out that day in order to make it to USCIS within the time that it needed to be there. And I don't know what happened, but somehow the package was still in the backseat of my car. It didn't make it to FedEx. And that was devastating. I was super concerned that it wasn't going to get there on time. And I was terrified. So I found an all-night FedEx and drove it there late at night, got it there. But I did have to own up to that mistake to let the clients know that there was this possibility that they might have to refill out new paperwork because the application was getting longer, more expensive, and all of that stuff. And then I also had to let the managing attorney know, which was also very scary for me because I'm a new attorney. I didn't want to seem like I just wasn't on it, but sometimes mistakes do happen. And the biggest thing is just owning up to them and also just being honest because trying to sweep anything under the rug, it'll get you.
Every time, every time. Oh man, that was good. That was good. So then let me ask you, what is the third best piece of advice you've ever received?
The third best piece of advice I've ever. I mean, I guess it would be something cliche, right? It's just to keep going, keep going. And also just, I think especially now, people are so quick to jump ship, right? You get tired of putting up with nonsense. But I think recognizing that there's going to be parts of every role and every position at every company that are not great, right? But the grass is not always greener. That is probably the most valuable piece of information. You got to give it time. Everybody's got to pay their dues. You have to give it time. It's not always instantaneous that everything just happens at once, but put in your time. You're going to get to where you want to be and exactly where you're supposed to be.
Good piece of advice. Absolutely. So if you could just share with us some of the professional organizations that you are a part of, or maybe even suggest some organizations that our students could look into becoming a part of while they're still in their undergraduate journey.
Yeah. I am part of, for my law career, I'm part of Real Estate Lawyers of North Carolina, which is it's a legal, I don't actually know if they might have like a division that non-lawyers can be a part of if you're interested in something like that. And if you are, and you're listening and you would like more information on that, I'm happy. You can definitely reach out to me, get in contact with Angela, and she would pass that information along. So I'm a part of that. I'm a part of the North Carolina State Bar, which hosts CLEs. And I'm a part of, there's one other organization for real estate law that I'm a part of. So basically those are the organizations that I am a part of in order to, further my career growth and development.
Awesome. All right, so my last question for you, and we'll wrap it up. If you could give yourself advice for when you accepted that first job in practicing law, or the process of accepting it, or while first starting that job, what advice would you give yourself?
I would say be an advocate for yourself, because if you're not, nobody else will be. So go in knowing your worth. Go in knowing your worth and advocate for yourself. You are your own biggest advocate.
Very true. Well, thank you so much. That is all the questions that I have for you today. And I absolutely appreciate you just taking the time and just sharing these valuable nuggets with our students. So again, if you have questions or have interest in the area that Nina is working in, feel free to reach out to us, reach out to me, and I can definitely pass your information on to her. So that is it for this episode, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.
Thank you.